Hey everyone, it's Swank Ivy with another Letters to an Asexual. This is number 109. I'm going to read you a series of several questions that I got at different times on Tumblr that are all loosely connected on the subject of choosing not to come out. There are a lot of reasons someone might decide not to come out at all. A lot of reasons why someone may feel like they want to speak about their situation without using specific words. They may feel that their safety is in jeopardy if they disclose certain aspects of their identity. And they may feel that they are sacrificing a sense of belonging if they come out. Or they may feel that they won't achieve the feeling of belonging that they hope to, even if they do come out. So I'm going to read 3 different messages that were sent to me. The first 2 are a little shorter, and the last one is on the longer side. And I'll read you my responses, and then we can have a discussion. The first question that I got on Tumblr was, "Hi, sorry to bother you. I'm aromantic asexual, and I've decided to not lie if my friends ask me about dating or something. Still, I'm not ready to come out as aro-ace and explain it. So I'm wondering if there's a better way of saying I'm not sexually or romantically attracted to anyone or anything, because that sounds damned awkward in my mother language. If I just say not interested, they expect a but or a because. Still, I don't want to outright lie to my friends. Any help is appreciated." Hi, thanks for your question. In my experience, there are a few things that work without declaring aromantic as your romantic orientation or asexual as your sexual orientation. People tend to take those as statements to be argued with sometimes, or they interpret them as closing yourself off or making a decision, to which many detractors object more aggressively if you're young. One phrase that has worked well for me if I don't want to get into the coming out answering 20 minutes of questions conversation is, "I've never found anyone I felt that way about, and I'm fine with that for now." Sometimes when they persist, like it's clear your friends might, you can say, "I'm really not worried about finding someone. Can you stop asking?" I have to admit, sometimes the "stop it" comment comes out like, "Why are you so obsessed with my dating life?" for me. And when that happens, sometimes I have to make sure not to use a question at all with that person / those people. Asking a question, even if it's one constructed to end a conversation, is technically an invitation for an answer. And they may actually tell you that they cannot stop asking, or why exactly they're so inappropriately invested in your relationships. So if you have aggressive interrogation happening and they won't stop, make sure you reach for statements. "I really don't want to talk about it, and I'll let you know if that changes. It's just not important to me right now, so I have nothing to say. I don't like that you're trying to change me." If you can make your friends feel like refusing to accept your answers is really inappropriate and disrespectful, sometimes they back off. Especially if you can do it without seeming angry or frustrated, though you're well within your rights to be angry and frustrated. If you can spin it so they feel like they're asking really pointless, invasive questions, sometimes they will stop. And if that doesn't work, sometimes it helps to individually talk to the people who do this or write them a note and just frankly say that they're making you uncomfortable by confronting you with this repeatedly. Your romantic life is your business, and their refusal to respect how you want to handle it means you probably aren't going to be likely to share the details with them in the future. Next on the list is this question. I received this on Tumblr as well. "Is it okay if I never tell anyone I'm asexual because I don't want to deal with having to explain what it is if they react badly? I know I should educate people instead of hiding, but I'm a weenie." Yes, you never have to tell anyone anything if it makes you uncomfortable. No one from our community is going to be angry at you for not providing another voice for our representation. You are not obligated to become an activist just because your orientation is unpopular. You can disclose as much as you want or as little as you want about yourself to anyone in your life. I recommend being careful in situations where people may assume you are not asexual and may be operating on that assumption, because if they start pushing for things that don't fit what you want and your asexuality is the reason you don't want them, you may be put in the uncomfortable position of being treated like you misled them through silence. If you ever do decide to pick someone to come out to, though, I have some resources for you if you ever need to ask. And lastly, I have the longer one, which is about asexuality and who should be seen. This person on Tumblr asked me, I feel like I shouldn't be open about being asexual or want it to be widely recognized because asexuals haven't been anywhere near as oppressed as the rest of the LGBTQA+ community. At the same time, I feel like I have to be open about my sexuality and demand its recognition, because if I don't, that contributes to asexual erasure. Also, someone told me I shouldn't tell anyone I'm asexual because it confirms the stereotype that asexuals are fat, ugly, and awkward. Oh man, please let me hug you if you're into hugs. Anyway, on asexual visibility being less important because of LGBTQ oppression. People who try to shame us for wanting attention for our problems because there are worse problems are being awful. Don't listen to them if someone has told you asexuality awareness is selfish in the face of objectively worse issues faced by others. We don't stop needing to address non-lethal injustices just because some people are on trial for murder. We don't stop needing better nutrition for undernourished kids just because some kids are actually starving. And we don't need to feel guilty about wanting representation and awareness spread about asexuality just because some people target LGBTQ people for violence and institutional oppression. There is not a line somebody somewhere gets to draw over which a problem must cross in severity before it is serious enough to warrant discussion and attention. Period. We are not taking finite resources away from anyone by having our own cause. On feeling like you have to be a spokesperson because we need the visibility? Oh no, no. You are not obligated to do anything. Visibility helps, but your safety and happiness always comes first. And do not let people make you feel guilty for not being willing to become an activist. Some of us, people like me, are okay with doing this job, and part of the reason we do it is so the majority of asexual people can just be asexual people. So they can just live their lives. So that being asexual doesn't automatically become some kind of social justice point or political position every time you come out. You have every right to be as open or as closed as you want to be about your orientation. You do not owe the community your voice, and we would not want you to have to speak if you did so while feeling your well-being or your safety was compromised. You should always consider your own comfort with the situation first. Come out to whom and at what times you want, and speak as much or as little on the subject as is acceptable for you. On being fat, ugly, and awkward. Rage. Actually, the reputation and believability of asexuality is not ruined at all by its representatives being fat, ugly, awkward, or all of the above. The reputation and believability of asexuality suffers when none of its representatives are any of the above. That's right. When our reps are all normatively attractive people who brightly carry all the gold star traits, we communicate an unrealistic representation of the community, and that ultimately hurts all of us. Why? Because if we suggest that only thin, physically attractive, non-awkward people are really asexual, we're reaffirming that for everyone else, asexuality is actually just an excuse for not being able to get laid. And that's something all of us combat. No asexual person is truly unassailable. Even people like me get the whole, you just couldn't find anyone who would do you, or you must just have a personality issue excuses. If we push down everyone who does not fit the ridiculously airbrushed standard and tell them they should stay in the closet to avoid being embarrassments to the community, we are disqualifying most of our population. Presenting an idealized form of what an asexual person looks like erases everyone who doesn't fit that standard. It erases fat people. If they lost weight, they'd get laid. It erases not normatively attractive people. If they were hotter, they'd get laid. It erases teenagers. They're too young. When they grow up, they'll get laid. And older people. They're too old. They've just lost their sex drive. Otherwise, they'd get laid. It erases non-cis people. If they weren't confused about their gender, they'd want to get laid. It erases people with illnesses or disabilities. If they weren't sick or disabled, they'd want to get laid. It erases people with mental illnesses. If they weren't mentally ill, they'd want to get laid. It erases people who are introverts or are shy. If they were more outgoing or extroverted, they'd get laid. It erases people who have experienced abuse. If they hadn't been damaged, they'd want to get laid. It erases people who are sex repulsed. If they weren't just afraid of sex, they could get laid. It erases people who do enjoy sex. If they like it, they should just shut up and get laid. It erases people who masturbate. If they like self-stimulation, they obviously want to get laid. It erases people who don't masturbate. If they don't want to play with themselves, they're sick, so they should get fixed and then get laid. It basically erases everyone if we uphold some so-called unassailable asexual person on a pedestal and then claim everyone else who's asexual is going to give the wrong impression if they come out. We are just as variable in all these categories as people who are not asexual. The same number of us are going to be fat as there are fat people in the general population. The same goes for ugliness or awkwardness, and that needs to be seen. Otherwise, only a tiny sliver of our population might be allowed some kind of bizarre permission to be acknowledged as asexual, and everyone else is going to continue to get swept under the rug. Everyone else is just going to be told, you only think you're asexual because you're X. Those disgusting, dismissive judgments are trying to claim that asexuality's legitimacy has to be granted by an external consensus. That it's not really about us. Our orientation is about us. It's about how we feel. It's not about what other people are assuming must be wrong with us to make us not want sex or whatever they misconstrue asexuality as being. If you want to come out, speak out, or represent asexuality, do not let anyone tell you you're an embarrassment to the team. You are one of us, and you are just as much a part of who we are as any member of our community who's talked to the cameras. Plenty of people who are awkward or not normatively attractive need to see faces and bodies and gestures that look like theirs, or they'll probably keep listening to jackasses who tell them that sure, asexuality might exist, but they aren't asexual. They're just fat/ugly/awkward/somehow not qualified. It absolutely takes all kinds, and we're happy to have you if and when you want to talk about this off anonymous. But there is absolutely no pressure. You come first. Please feel confident in your identity and entitled to embrace it in whatever capacity you're comfortable with. Your community thinks you're awesome, even if we don't actually know who you are. So if you are one of my viewers and you have some thoughts on what made you feel like you wanted to come out, what made you feel like you didn't want to come out, whether you're out, whether you're not, if you want to talk about it in the comments, I would love to see some discussion on that. But I just wanted to offer some defense for people who feel more comfortable just not talking about it with anyone, except for in situations where they're anonymous. That is just as legitimate, and I don't want anyone to feel guilt walking around feeling like they owe the community more activism or more truthiness or more disclosure about their own lives if they aren't comfortable with it in their in-person relationships. So, with that, I will wrap this one up, and thanks for watching.